Perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
JK.
Um,
Dean.
and I believe connection stream
I need to trim that
where,
in.
and we should be live.
I just
All
got the
right.
notification.
Oh.
Give it a few seconds to catch up so I can make sure. Okay, yeah. So I should be able to hear everybody. We probably won't be able to hear AM2R, but you know that's okay. That's whatever. Because that's not the important part. That's just the backdrop. Welcome to the live stream. If anybody's here, besides just me. As always, if you're coming from Futureland, we're gonna talk about some stuff, and we're gonna play some AM2R because I've never played AM2R, and everybody says that's the best version of Metroid 2. Because it's a fan-made one, and it's a passion project, and they spent like a decade making this game. I don't know if that's all strictly true, but I think that's my understanding of it. Anyway, what is our first question today, Lars?
Our first question. So, this is actually something that's, well, first of all, before we get into it, I actually just want to quickly give a shout out. I know this is just the opening of the stream, and I know our streams don't get the most views, but for anyone who comes in and watches this later, who's new to our channel, I just want to say welcome. We are so happy to have you here, and also I just want to give a quick shout out to all the amazing people who've been dropping by one of our videos recently, the Connected Cartoon Universe Theory.
Yeah.
You guys have been awesome. Like,
Yeah,
there have been
that's been getting
so
some
many
good traction.
amazing comments. Yeah. Like, I've been getting all these amazing comments. I've been getting people's own theories, crossovers, people have been pointing out stuff that I missed. And it's just been really, really great. So it's one of those things where I'm like, wow. Like, there are people who really, really want this to happen. This is a popular idea. It's fun to see that Gravity Falls is still very much in the zeitgeist, even though it's been so long ago. Like, it's still something that people love and cherish, and they love to see other stories that reference it or they're similar to it. So it's just been a blast. But yeah, so getting into it, our first matter for the evening is character descriptions, and this is actually inspired by Scott's most recent writing challenge over at our Discord server, where he was like, "Okay, describe your character as you want someone to draw them." And I was like, I like that, and it got me thinking. Character descriptions. These are one of those things where you can either pour it on way too thick, or you can give way too little. What is that happy medium that communicates that colorful, very real character in your head to other people without just dropping literally everything on top of them?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when you send, and I've only done it once before, but when you send your character idea to an author, not to an artist, you really need to be very specific. You have to have everything written out, and you're like, okay, I want them to be this tall, the muscles, their appearance, hair, every little detail is gonna be important to make sure the artist knows what they're doing. I remember when I did it the one time, I also included a couple of different real life people that I felt were kind of close to what what I wanted my character to look like, as kind of references for the artist to take a look at as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah, when you talk about when you're thinking about sending out your characters that you want to have other people draw and bring to life, you want to make sure that you give them plenty of detail and everything. And this is and here's the thing, taking this a step further. When I think about fan art for books, And I just last night was playing a card game with my family, using cards from Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, and so there's a whole bunch of illustrations of the different characters right there. And the thing is, is that an artist was like read those books and took the description of those characters and painted them. This is not like the official artwork. This is like Sanderson said, yes, that's exactly what these characters look like. It was a fan who did some amazing artwork that Sanderson and company were all like, wow, that's really awesome. You got really close to what the characters are like. Can we buy your artwork and use it?
Well, and I feel like
it's like how and that's the thing, is like, how can you as an author create detailed enough characters for other people to picture them, whether they draw them, paint them, or not? How can you do that without just, like, as I said, laying it on thick and just be like,
Yeah.
boom.
Right. And you also got to take into mind, they, like, if they're going to make a movie out of your book or your piece of work, they're also going to take the description that you wrote of the character into mind when they're casting the character. And so you ended up, like, prime example of that, probably Harry Potter. They picked out a kid that looked a lot what they wanted Harry Potter to look like, and that became that actor's job for a good chunk of their life.
Daniel Radcliffe is still running away from Harry Potter.
Exactly.
And the same with Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint he's just living his best life.
Yeah, he is.
There you are.
But so here's the thing. So to kind of get the ball then rolling on this, I'm just gonna say, what I like to do is I've at least for myself, what I try to do is I try to give like a good basic description of what a character looks like the first time that you meet them, and then like have reminders throughout the story of basic like looks, but just like add more to what they look like as I just kind of like go throughout. Like if I have like a moment and just like pause, like a girl is putting on like a girl's putting on her makeup. I've already described her, but like now I can give like a little bit more description to the character because, well, she's putting on her makeup. Or like or they have to dress in a costume, and then I can then bring up a little bit more about like costume type, or just not costume type, like body type, or even then introduce other things about that character, such as like their personal taste. Like this character really likes to wear spandex.
Yeah.
Because they feel good.
Something like fair point. But I also think you got to be careful as to not, because there is a fine line, and I think it's going to be different for each type of writer where that line exists. Why can I not get out of this water? Because it's like you could take the Brandon Mole approach, which is, minimalism for better or for worse, and that's usually where I kind of go for it, unless I'm like, there's a specific instance in which like describing the character makes sense. So like when I first introduced my character Lily, I more or less we do have that's not gonna work.
You're doing great,
sorry.
lady.
Yes.
I need to turn off toggle and turn on anyway.
The toggle's not toggling.
Well, it's toggling, but I have to press B and X at the same time in order to make it work. That's not going to work. Anyway, but like when I first introduced my character Lily, it's literally just, she's talking about her mother, and she's like, well, I actually am really, like, I find it a compliment to be, compared to my mother. She was an awesome woman with, and we share the same sharp chin, brown eyes, yada, yada, yada. So, like, it makes sense. Why can I not grab onto the ledge?
Oh, Samus, you're trying so hard.
Come on. Grab it. Anyway. This is really distracting to try to... I'm going to have to figure this out. Let me just finish talking first, and then I'll figure this out. But it's like, so that's kind of it. I just kind of super brief description as a way to like be like, hey, this is how I look like my mom, right? But then as the story progresses, there's times in which it's like, oh, well, this really, accentuates, maybe my pale legs when I wear shorts or something like that, and then it can like be like, okay, so she's obviously very pale, or something like that. But you don't want to like be like, oh, there we go, I grabbed it that time. You don't want to be like, oh, my 3 numbers are yada 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 or whatever it is, like that is like, okay, at what point does the character actually
No one needs to know that shit.
Yeah, nobody really needs to know that. Oh, fetch me running. Shoot. I'm having a Metroid pickle. I'm in a bit of a pickle problem. But like, you just gotta think about how the character would think about things, Like, when you are you and you walk by a mirror, do you describe yourself in your head in great detail? No. So why would you do that, especially if you're doing it from a character's point of view, why would you do that in your story as well,
Right, and the more you can kind of put it in little bits at a time, like something somebody else says, like, oh, this is different than how it is normally, kind of idea. Just like how the different characters describe the main character, or like make little comments there and there, here and there. Just keep it subtle like that. I think the better.
Yeah, because I think that Nate brings up a good point of you don't look at yourself in a mirror and you don't give yourself a laundry list of what you look like.
Yeah.
Typically, when you're looking in the mirror, you're looking at things like, oh, whoa.
My hair is frizzy.
Yeah, like, my hair's frizzy, or, whoa, I'm looking thick today, Now that I think about it, I'm like, it's very, like, self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like a lot of authors take that route. They make it very self-deprecating, and they're like, it's like an inner monologue that you're hearing through the character's voice about how much they hate this about themselves and hate that about themselves, and it's usually towards the start of the book that you see that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like here, I have so many thoughts about this because it's like, while it would be super nice to be able to describe a character as in depth as you would if you were having someone do fan art for you, like a commission piece, I don't feel like that's very realistic to do in a story because then you do just get a laundry list, which is not very good writing, but like, and I feel like that's why when you have fan art, a lot of times when people do fan art of characters, there is slight variation, not just because of different art styles, but like how people interpret what the character looks like differently, but you can still tell that it's the same character.
Yeah.
So like before we had the Percy Jackson movies, for example, it's like you still had fan art and you could still tell who Percy was before they made the movies that we shall not speak of. And it's like there was slight variation, but you could still tell that it was Percy because Rick Riordan didn't do a laundry list, but he gave you enough over the course of the books that you could tell, that it wasn't just this faceless entity that was Percy. And so I feel like when it comes to describing characters, it's okay to like chill. You don't have
and I think less is
give
more.
it all in the and you can do it just bit by bit. You can do it. I do not describe yourself in a mirror because but like I'm not saying don't ever describe yourself in the mirror, but don't like sit there and describe your character every pore on their face in the mirror. But you could, you know what I mean, like moderation.
Purple descriptions.
Yeah. But like you can, you don't have, and I think that's the thing. It's like you can have like one or two things that allow a character to like stand out, and then you can go back and like flesh them out more, you know, especially if it's side characters. But I feel like people are too afraid to do that with a main character.
Yeah.
And they're like, I have to describe them right now. When really, I feel like it's really fun seeing over the course of a book, especially for like the main characters, using other characters to describe what the main character looks like.
Yeah.
You know, you could have a side character be like, see, you do that thing with your mouth when you're annoyed. I think I have that somewhere in one of my series, is the love interest, well, not at that point in time, but the love interest like teases my main character because when she's annoyed, she scrunches her nose up. You know, and it's like, would I introduce that in the first 5 pages? No, I wouldn't.
Help!
But like something like that helps flesh her out more in terms of her personality and what she looks like, you know, that sort of thing. That you have so many resources available that you don't have to rush into. You're painting a picture, and pictures take time to paint.
Yeah. It's not all done at once.
Making a list. Exactly. Like
nobody sits down and just starts painting a masterpiece.
It's not a speed drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they take time. They take, you know, get on the ledge. It takes effort, you know. And so it's like, you
like
should
getting
do that
up on the ledge.
Yeah, like getting up on this damn ledge. There we go. Sheesh. Not gonna lie, whatever those bugs are, they look like Samus's helmet.
Holy crap! That's an expensive plague doctor.
Yeah. So I quickly want to get
really
to
big one.
So cute.
I want to come here to this comment in the chat from Kylie. I definitely want my dragon.
To the chat.
It's like, I would definitely want my dragon. Fendry. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Friendyear. Friendrew. I'm totally mispronouncing. I know I am. Friendyear, and my werewolf MC Jenna drawn. So I'm just gonna say this. Like, I mean, I know that Camille has already worked on doing stuff with drawing dragons from one of her books.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see some of the dragons from my own stories drawn and given life. And like, for instance, one of those things, like when we talk about like humans, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we want to be able to discover these characters as they kind of go along. It definitely becomes something different when you're looking at like this majestic mythical creature, whether that be a dragon, a phoenix, or even if we go with something more humanoid like a vampire or a werewolf. They're like, we're like, whoa, we want to be able to like capture this these incredible otherworldly fantastical qualities, but you can still easily overdo it if you're not being careful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like, I think that's something that like I'm still trying to discover how to do. Like, how can I communicate like the size or the majesty or the magical quality of a creature without like laying it on too thick. And I think I did well in Knights of Halicruz when describing the dragons and some of the other creatures in one chapter. So when the main character Narmina ends up being she's in this gathering of all these massive animals, some of which are real animals, some of which are mythical. And I definitely kind of went more the Brandon Mole route, where I'm like, less is more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to describe every single creature in detail, but the ones who have more talking roles, like I went into like how Night Eater is just this big dark wolf. He's imposing. He has this powerful voice. He cuts to the quick. He just has this amazing. There's this presence about him. You then have Poison Claw, this dragon who's just like like when he shows up, like everything about him is just venomous. It's evil. Like he then has his own conflicting presence, and so it's like some of these characters, some of these monsters, some of these creatures get more description rather than just simply saying, yeah, it's a dragon, it's big, it's got wings, and here's a bear that's like 4 stories tall.
A big boy.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's thick.
Yeah. I think a good rule of thumb is less is more. And I think, and a lot of it comes down to just like what character is describing who they are looking at, because I think that can also play a big difference,
Right.
Because each character is going to have a different.
They're going to notice different things about. They're going to notice things about people differently.
Exactly.
Based on who they are. Yeah.
I want it. How do I get it?
No, that's a good point too. Because it's like, if you had a spy as a main character, they'd probably be super observant as to, like, the behavior or body language of people compared to, someone who... a horny character who's just seeing how attractive
a teenager. They're like, boobs? Yeah. I love the boobs.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, and then you do have, and then still like with the horny characters, like there are the horny characters who are like, everything. I am taking in everything, all of the sensory information.
Stop,
please no.
Abort.
Like
all the senses.
It's like it's too much. It's too much.
Well, I was thinking more along with the spy. Like, spies are good at like changing their appearance, making themselves look different or acting different. And so that appearance is going to change throughout the story. A spy might actually pay attention more to their appearance than other characters.
Before. I have been here before.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And
sorry, my mic almost fell on my face.
Ooh.
Squish.
And then also like a character who's kind of like a fish out of water. So like they don't belong in that situation, or they're a guest, they're a foreigner or something like that. It's fine, like for instance, in the book that I'm right now prepping for release, Bleed, Steam, and Steel, there are lots of characters. Yeah, Best Girl Asuka, who I am getting drawn right now, which is pretty awesome.
She looks amazing.
But like
she does.
But like the thing is that there's all these characters coming from different nations, and so like it's an opportunity to like to comment not just on like physical appearance, but also on things such as like what they're wearing, because the characters are coming over from Endo, obviously like they're wearing more Japanese style clothing, but there are some changes, there are some alterations to it. There are people from a variation of the Middle East, the Central Islands, who you would be like, yeah, I understand, like these are Middle Eastern type characters, but once again, like they look and act very differently, and so for characters who are not used to the Central Islands, it's an opportunity to like view them through those eyes and be like, yeah, those people with their weird clothing and their strange accents and weird ways, and it's like you can kind of go into that because like that's something that we internally do. You meet someone from another country and you already like are scrutinizing them. You're like, so what kind of clothes are they wearing? What kind of food do they eat?
Yeah.
Why did they put up their hair like that? I mean, it's not the most polite thing to do, but we all do it.
Right, but there's so much to describe about a person besides just what their face looks like.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point.
Stay back. Don't touch me, I'm sterile.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of authors also...
Oh, I'm gonna die!
It's like a well-used trope to like have a character who knows nothing, who's like a complete novice in whatever's going on, and that it's because of that you can introduce them as they go, like introduce all sorts of different stuff, all these different new appearances and all that kind of stuff. Which I feel like some cases it gets used way too much. It's a trope you can go wrong with, but it is a trusted trope for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. Did I just make myself bleed?
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
I was scratching my back, and then all of a sudden, I can't tell. It's too dark where I'm sitting.
Ew.
We're out here struggling.
This took a dark turn.
It did.
I'm okay.
Oh man. I'm trying to think of like of times where I've done. So actually, here's another example. This is something that I've had a lot of fun doing. I'll be honest. I'm definitely looking forward to like beta reader feedback on Bob. Since Bob's like only momentarily in Knights of Halicruz, but he shows up in the set. He's a lot in the second book.
Oh.
The thing is there are no facial expressions to read from him because he's constantly wearing a mask.
He's got a mask.
And so everything's communicated via body language, and he is a very animated character. And so this is where this is something I've had fun doing, is describing a character through their actions and not just by how they look. Like that's been a whole lot of fun where it's just like, yeah, so how can you tell, like, for instance, when Bob is like feeling a certain way? It's not just by the inflections in his voice that I write down, but it's like how quickly he moves, because you can tell
his body language.
Yeah, you can tell he's getting angry when he starts moving faster. And so because he's like get to the point, like I want to get something done, so he's moving faster to just like remove whatever obstacle is in his way that's right now making him angry. And if he's happy, then just weird thing. Then he just starts doing weird things, like just nonsensical things. Like, so that's how you can kind of tell his emotions are just what he does.
Yeah.
And then also the dialogue, it then becomes necessary, because once again, there's no facial expression. Be like, he squinted, he glared, or he smiled, he winked. There's just none of that.
Yeah, that is a very interesting kind of pickle you've put yourself in.
It's a fun one. I really enjoy writing for Bob, but like it does present its own challenge, because I can't rely on communicating stuff through just through facial expressions, which it's surprising how often we do that as characters.
That is such a good point, and I just had a thought. I just had a thought, because in one of my books, I have a blind character, and he can't see anyone, and so.
Is that what that means?
Yes. Today you learned.
Today
you know, and so it's like that has been. He's learning. He's growing
learning.
up.
The good boy is learning.
Goodness.
He's doing so good.
No, I'm not. This thing is destroying me. Just...
yeah,
like, oh my gosh.
Get away!
Riding... Are you good?
Yeah,
this Metroid
he's just getting his
bacon.
butt kicked.
I'm getting my biscuits baked by this Metroid. Oh, I killed him with 8 health left. Woo! How am I supposed to get that health if I can't reach it? Give me! I'm gonna kill myself trying to get this health. Okay, it's gone.
It's all gone.
Okay, well, this is fine. I just gotta make it back to the save point.
Can I continue?
Yes, I'm sorry.
But I think that's been really good in terms of like challenging me to try and find other ways to describe things and set the scene. And so I feel like that would be a good exercise, you know.
Yeah.
Writing, if you want to find like ways to really push yourself in terms of like describing things, can do something like what I'm doing, or in terms of like what Lars has with Bob, where he has a mask, you know, like things like that really push you to get creative. So I feel like if you're stuck or you want to practice how to improve on those types of things, like do a little writing exercise, and that's super helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So finding a creative way to communicate what a character's feeling or thinking based off of the stuff other than facial expressions, it's always good. And also like nervous tics. Like I found I was really mad with myself when I went back and realized I had actually forgotten in later drafts for the Legend of the Ten Lords that Jessica has like a nervous or aggravated tic where she instinctually just crosses her arms and then taps a foot. And it's just like, that's just a fun little thing to like write right there. Or it communicates stuff about the character.
Yeah.
Or that helps to describe him, because not every description they give for a character is directly physical or directly like or like directly like a thought bubble, because that's kind of like what a lot of beginning authors do, is that it's either all physical or it's all like, I must describe everything that's going on in this person's head. But you can describe both through movement, through tics, through quirks.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to
things.
A character. Like, there's so much that you can accomplish. And your characters, because for a long time, oh my goodness. For a long time, I'm not going to do this right now. I'll be back later. For a while.
I'll come back to you later.
Like, I thought, oh, well, I'm writing this story in first person, and there's not really a lot that I can do with this side character, because, like, it's not from her point of view, so I can't really explore her, like, inner monologue or dialogue, or, you know, I can only really explore from what the main character can see. But I kind of quickly realized that it's like, no, you can pick up a lot on people around you, and so I don't necessarily need to like limit myself saying like, oh, I can't explore this character, when I can very easily explore this character. I just have to like let the character who's doing the narrating be the one who interprets what things are. And you can have some fun with being unreliable in that instance as well. And so it's like, does that make sense? I feel like I kind of rambled for a bit.
No, I totally get that.
Moral of the story is your characters pick up more than you think they should. And that gives you a lot of leeway if you're doing, especially if you're doing a first-person story. Can I get out of the bramble? So.
Yeah, and you can also even put that into like a third person telling. Like, this is something that I loved, that when I began to pick it up from the Wheel of Time, where I was like, whoa, you can put this on, and you can put in an unreliable character or an unreliable perspective even into a third person if you are like in your prose. If you give a certain flavor to your prose, it's like, yeah, this is like how a certain character would react. So like a great example from actually the Wheel of Time is whenever you read stuff from Matt, because all of his prose are extremely colorful and just very him. It's almost like he's telling his story through Robert Jordan. Where he's just like, yeah, I can't stand these women, but like I'm gonna flirt with them anyway.
That's a very Matt thing to say.
Oh, it's so Matt, and just and so like, and that's fun, and also because Matt feels like he understands women, which he doesn't.
I have to laugh because literally every character, so much fun. Literally every male character in that story has said like, oh, I just don't understand women like Matt does, or oh, I don't understand women like Perrin does, or oh, I don't understand women like Rand does. Yeah. And it's like
they're all idiots.
They're all idiots when it comes to women.
Yeah, but to be fair, well, let's hear. You've gotten to the 4th book by now?
Yeah, I'm in the 4th book.
Yeah, you're in the 4th book. This is where the women start making like hilarious mistakes regarding the men, where it's like they think that they understand the men, and there's so many funny parts that come way later on where the women think that everything is going according to their plan because they understand the dude. And then the guy says or does something that was not according to script, and they get so ticked off.
Like
and it's just like,
Elaine.
It's just like, I'm sorry, but that's because you're pompous and you thought that you understood the other sex, and so you were like,
that's so, on you, honey.
Like, ours, yeah. It's just like no. It's the same as when Matt does it. You assume.
He's running at me. Get away.
But yeah, that's another thing that can be done really, really fun. You're right. Is when you can describe a character through another character's observations, because like you can pull in the unreliable narrator or misunderstandings about a character, misperceptions. That can be a ton of fun.
Yeah. Anyway, I kind of feel like we've exhausted this topic. We should move on to the next one.
Yeah, we
Shall we tackle one of the Discord questions?
Yeah.
Sure thing. Let's let me pop on over there.
I'm gonna have to get off though.
Alrighty, later, Scoot. Thanks for
Later.
joining us.
Goodbye.
Thanks for being here, Scoot.
Go buy that. Oh, he's gone. I was gonna say, go buy that plague doctor.
Yes, I actually really want to get that plague doctor too. They shared with us in the
I
chat.
don't know what
Really
you're talking
cute.
about.
It
He's
looks
cute.
so freaking cute.
I shared
Is
in
it
our
something we should buy for
personal
Zaza?
Discord. Yeah, I was gonna say I shared
Yeah,
it.
no,
and
we
tagged
should
Zaza
definitely
so
get
she
it for
could see it.
Zaza.
It's
Because
huge.
Yeah, well, because since her icon is now a plague doctor, just it works so freaking well.
Yeah, it's so cute.
So let's see here. So we've got one question right here from Fang of Dripping Blood. So how can you incorporate your story's history or culture in a sense that doesn't feel like info dumping or throwing it in there because?
Like for the first part, our same what we just talked about applies, where you don't have to do it all at once, and you can find many different ways to incorporate that through various characters, or like through dress, what they're wearing, how they speak, how they present themselves, body language. Like there are so many things that can be incorporated throughout the story. It does not have to be. Never think that you have to explain everything in the first 10 pages.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes.
And don't think that you have to explain everything the moment you introduce it, too. Like, for example, I'm actually in the middle of writing a scene where basically it's going over the culture of a particular race within my stories, and so it gives me an opportunity to kind of explore what does a festival, or not a festival, like a feast and a ritual for this particular group of people look like. And one way you can kind of approach this is by being a bit of a fish out of water. Pun intended for Camille and Lars there, because they understand what I'm talking about. But it's like, so being a fish out of water is a great example where it's like, oh, this is kind of different how they're doing this, you know? That's one really good way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of drip feed the information. Just be like, oh, this is how we do dinner. This is how, you know, and you don't have to like say, this is how we do dinner. Just kind of explain what's happening as it's happening, you know? Maybe if it's more of like a communal type of a community, you know, you might have
communal community.
Yeah, you might have like where they all eat together in a circle, you know, and it's just a giant pot, and you just, you know, stick your spoon in, you go at it, you know.
Right.
And so you just kind of say like, oh, we all sat around the pot and we just started digging into it, you know. And so it's like. Yeah, you don't have to go in depth. Once again, I feel like this is a less is more, or at least less is more at first as you drip feed the information to them.
Yeah.
And I think readers are smart enough to pick up on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, what you got, Camille?
Oh, I was just going to say, oftentimes characters are a good vehicle to... If you can't show and you need to tell, like, characters are a good vehicle to have those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it where your main character is the fish out of water, like, you still have options, you know? Like, example, in one of my books, In the Witch's Ghosts, she, like, her Adelaide's world is, that's what she knows, you know? So she's already familiar with things, but then she meets Yorvi, who is a fish out of water in her world, and so, but I can still use him to explain Adelaide's world, because she's explaining, you know, she's the vehicle to explaining things to him, but he is also the vehicle to explain his culture and his perspective. So it's like they feed off of each other, because in they have very different cultures, and so they like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can use both of them. You don't always have to have a main character who doesn't know diddly squat.
Yeah.
You always have characters that you can utilize to explore different perspectives or get better exposition on different cultures and etc.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
here's
I
the
think
thing,
that's a great
actually.
example.
For once again, Bleed Steam and Steel, with the exception of one character, General Arthur Wesley, who is the fish out of water character. Wesley, shoot him! Except for him, because he's really is the fish out of water. He's in a completely different country, very different customs, very different people, and everything. The other three characters all are very competent within their own respective spheres, at least until Lagertha leaves the north, leaves Karna, and goes on her quest. And you get still a lot of information about their cultures through them. And I wrote in such a way, it's just like, yeah, this is just like what happens. And I wrote it very matter of factly, which is like, it's one of those things where like I don't stop to then explain. Okay, so these are who the priests and the priestesses are at this magical valley. It's just like, here they come. They're carting in the dead along with the souls in the gold coins, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you as the reader are like, wait, did I read that correctly? Yeah, okay, I read that correctly. And the characters just roll with it, especially once again with Asuka. And it's fun to do with Asuka because Asuka is pulling all of these different elements of her own people's culture and government into her scheme to save her family from destitution. So it's a fun thing because it's matter of fact for her, but it's used in like this. It's used in this very plotting way. And so that was a ton of fun to write because, once again, I'm not stopping to explain anything. Rather, it's very matter-of-factly, but you get to see it in practice because of how Asuka is doing her thing. And the same with Zemon. Zemon is very matter-of-fact. He has to be very intelligent and he has to be very knowledgeable of what's happening in his city because he's the spy master. And so so it's like, oh yeah, well, these kinds of people will always act like this, so I can expect them to blah 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 blah, kind of a thing. And so that was a ton of fun to write. But the thing is that also then requires a good knowledge of your world and its cultures. I don't know how well you can garden write or discovery write that kind of an experience.
Yeah. Oh, garden writing.
Oh, there's a whole thing down here.
I love to garden write my characters, but I cannot garden write my world.
Oh
yeah, same.
Not.
No,
it's
that's
too much.
My world is so expansive at this point. There's no way. No, get back.
I tried with like one book and I was like, I friggin' can't. I made it like 3 chapters. I was like, I can't do this. I have to. I need structure.
What wasn't that The Peculiar Funeral?
It is, yeah.
Or was that another book?
No, it was that one. But I realized, I was like, freak, if I'm making this a murder mystery, like,
you need to know what's going on.
I need to know what the hell's going on. The character doesn't know what the hell's going on, but
and
I,
neither
as the
do
author,
I.
need to know. Yeah, we're all lost here. I'm just as lost as my characters.
Slap some, add some drugs and some drinking to that mix, and then it could be a wonderful cocktail of discovery.
I was gonna say, I should just take a bunch of cocaine and then write that story, and it would be like a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, it totally would be. Camille's Harem does not advocate the use of illegal drugs.
Unless you're feeling like it, bub.
Well, I'm not going to tell you no. It's up to your,
Yay!
I'm going to stop talking now.
Well, let's jump then to the second question that we got from Fang of Dripping Blood. How to make your characters both opposites while simultaneously being mirrors of each other.
Sorry, will you say that again? It got kind of crackly on my end.
You sped up really weirdly.
Yeah. More or less.
Okay. So, how to make your characters both opposites while simultaneously being mirrors of each other. I'm going to guess that this is a question that has to probably revolve around a budding couple, that or a rivalry. Right here.
Yeah.
This would go for either a romance or a rivalry. So how to make your characters both opposites while simultaneously being
enemies.
Yeah. Well, and I
Yes.
think I'm sure this is not what they were meaning when they said this, but I think that an excellent example of this, and this has been on my mind recently because I've been playing, the harder levels in the game, but Celeste does an excellent job with this. Quite literally, in the sense of the main antagonist of the story is literally the mirror reflection of her busts out of the mirror and goes on a rampage. And so it's like, oh, this is and this is going to be some major spoilers for Celeste. But basically, she's like, well, it's all of the parts of me that I need to leave behind, and it's all of the bad parts of me. It's like a defense mechanism that I just need to abandon. And so it's like, you kind of learn that as... what is going on here? Anyway, as the story progresses, you learn it's like, no, I can't just abandon that part of me. Like, it needs to be there. Because it's a necessary part of my being. And so, like, that is a really, really good example. If you want to, I'm sure you can find just, a collection of, like, cutscenes if you want to see a good example of that done. Or just get the game. It's not too expensive, and it is one of the best games I've ever played, period. So yeah, I would recommend if you want to see a good example of kind of a rivalry style of like opposites done really well, but in like a good way, go check that out.
That's a good example.
I think like if you're say that is a good example right there, and if and if you're thinking of like, well, yes, we have an example right here. How can I do it? I think a good way to go about it is to think about character motivation.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that makes characters similar but opposite, and you especially see this with like really good hero and villain dynamics, is that they come from a similar like place.
Yeah.
I want to have power. To just jump now into anime. I want to have power. Well, what do you want to have power for? I want to have power to save people. I want to have power to save myself. I want to have power to help out my family. I want to have power so I am loved. And so it's like they want to have power, and where they want that power then for, then is what can then start creating that kind of opposition right there. Or it could be like another thing, like for instance, you've got characters who have been hurt in some kind of way, and whereas one character then might seek to then find like healing and understanding, another character can then internalize that pain, and they can come from the exact same kind of, they can come from that exact same origin, kind of like thinking of like what was done with Wolverine and Sabretooth, at least in the X-Men, at least in the Wolverine Origins movie, which I know isn't the best movie to reference, but hey, whatever. Where it's like you got brothers who've been through the exact same experiences, but one becomes highly disillusioned with everything, that being Wolverine, and then the other one just continues to look for the next big thrill and kill, being Sabretooth. And so it's like they both come from the same place, but their personalities are what allow them to then become opposites of each other, but they are mirrored in the sense of what their core beginnings, core values, or core experiences are.
Yeah.
High-minded right there, but those are the thoughts that came to me.
No, and I think that's a good example. Oh, everything's shaking. Well, So I actually had one more topic that I felt impressed to talk about. And it's more or less, it came down to the fact that a while ago we were having a conversation about Raya the Last Dragon. And I think we were doing it on this live stream. And talking about how the beginning of the movie is just like a giant info dump.
Yeah.
And how that's just kind of... it's just not the best way to go about, starting out a movie. But then I thought about it. It's like, okay, so then what makes something like Avatar The Last Airbender, which, starts out with, an info dump like that? And what makes it work there, but not... How the heck did I get up here? But not... Oh, that's how. Not Raya the Last Dragon. What's your guys' thoughts?
I feel like with Avatar, that one
On Raya the Last Dragon.
Like, Avatar is unique in the sense that that's the opening, And I feel like that's not the only kind of, like, opening for a show that is like that. Where it gives you... It sets up the world, but it still keeps it short and simple.
Yeah.
And of course, my mind is drawing a blank because object
permanence.
Yeah, I once you asked me about other examples, I can't think of any. But shows, there are shows that do that.
Yeah.
But they keep it down to like a really short amount, and I feel like because of that, as that being the intro, then it just kind of becomes iconic. As opposed to, like, Raya and the Last Dragon, the exposition is beautifully animated, but it's also, like, 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
or maybe it's
way
not.
too
It
much.
felt like it was 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
It feels very long. I recently watched at least the first half of Raya, and the exposition was not as long as I remembered it being, but it was still really long. And it comes down to a matter of not just how much time you take with your exposition,
but
what exactly are you explaining?
Yeah.
Avatar keeps it extraordinarily simple. Well, it's like Avatar, master of the 4 elements, and then just like everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. It's so clear and simple, and then it then goes like right. Oh crap! But then it goes right into the story of Aang by then introducing the Avatar. It's like my brother Sokka and I found this boy frozen in the ice, like this airbender named Aang. And I can't remember exactly how it goes. Oh heaven!
Yeah.
Heaven forgive me.
I have it memorized, but I'm a little.
I believe that Aang can save the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little preoccupied.
I will.
So,
but,
like,
however, the first
it's
episode.
all really well done. But I actually.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was going to say I actually would say rather than comparing Raya and the Last Dragon to Avatar: The Last Airbender, I would actually rather compare Raya to Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
See, and I haven't seen that.
Because Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind takes you and just hurls you into this huge epic where there's so much going on. There are kingdoms, there are politics, there's heroes, there's monsters, there's been a devastating war, there's so much stuff that's happened. And what the movie does that's really brilliant is that rather than giving you all of this exposition to catch you up on who the people of the Valley of the Wind are, what was the war that forced them there, who really is Nausicaa, instead the movie only gives you very, very short bits of exposition and instead focuses on the story of Nausicaa becoming the hero. What Raya and the Last Dragon could have done that could have been way more rewarding, even though it would require then that the audience have to think, which is something that Hollywood writers don't like to do these days.
Think? No, they're too stupid for that.
It's like the audience has brains? Ugh.
Not possible.
What they should have done what they should have done is, like, sure, you can have the introduction about the dragons, keep it short, keep it simple, and then within minutes, I would then throw you right into Raya, hunting down, like looking for the dragon shard, so looking for the shards of the crystal. Like that's what I would have done. And even though I actually do love the whole flashback thing with her father and like seeing how everything just like fell apart, I would sacrifice that scene because the villainy in that scene is almost too comedic. Like it's just like, wow, really went there. Like these people are all awful. They deserve to die. Like, I'm sorry, like there is no redeeming just how stupid and villainous these people are. And so like I didn't want the people to get saved. Even up until the very end, I wanted the core cast of heroes to be safe, but I could have cared less about the people of the world because of how stupid and moronic and villainous they are.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Game of Thrones. I don't care. Burn Westeros to the ground. Let Winter
all
win.
of them could die.
I don't care. They're all awful.
No, I don't care if anybody survives in Game of Thrones. So why would I care?
I just
if
care
another
about
character dies? Yeah,
exactly. So the thing is that rather than do that, I would have just jumped right on in, and then we learn through conversations, and we learn maybe even through some small flashback scenes or what have you. We get to start piecing together the rest of the story. That would have been epic, which is what we get with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a big difference between that is that it doesn't. The Avatar: The Last Airbender's kind of exposition opening does not feel like an exposition opening dump. You know, it's let me the character Katara tell you about, you know, what. Oh, he popped out of the ground. Let me tell you about
like daisies.
Let me tell you about like this story, you know, that I experienced. Whereas Rey the Last Dragon, it almost feels like, hey, let me read from this textbook, you know. And I think that's a big difference. And so where it's like we're actually getting some characterization. One of the people on our Discord chat, Mary, we had an opportunity to kind of talk to her about her prologue, in which she has this grandma type character who's like explaining this story to, what in the world is that, to all of these, you know, little children. And right, am I remembering this right? Yeah, okay. And that is a great instance, because then the children are like, you know, asking questions and getting answers, and you're getting like this grandma character's personality in there as well. And like it kind of gives you a chance to, you know, get some context. I think that context plays a big part of it. A lot of the times we don't see the context behind, like, I have to, okay, that's annoying. Sorry. Get up. Sheesh. A lot of times, like, we don't have any context for what is happening. And so why do we care about what's happening in this world? And I felt that way with Rey the Last Dragon, where it was like, I don't have any context for any of the information you're giving me. So, like, show me the world first. Like, show me the people, show me the world, and then explain what's going on, you know? And I actually really like the beginning of Rey the Last Dragon. It's just the fact that it feels like, all right, we have to get through all this information, so sit down while I tell you all about it. And I'm like, you know, it was a good opening, except for that point, you know? And so...
Like, it was a chore to get
What if the movie... Yeah, what if the movie had actually been split? Like, what if, like, I know, like, this is something that most people wouldn't undertake because, it's such a big risk. And granted, yeah, there's hundreds of millions of dollars that go into making a movie like this. So it is a big risk. But, like, what if it was split to tell the story of Rhea as a young girl and then Rhea as the adult?
Yeah.
Like, two movies. That I mean, that would have been really interesting to see. I mean, like
it
as I
would
said,
be
it's a
interesting,
big
but I
risk and
don't think it would have
everything.
been worth it. You know?
Yeah, I don't feel like it's worth 2 movies.
Yeah, I think actually Frozen, the first movie, is a great example of kind of what you could do, in the sense of like, you know, the beginning is just two sisters having a good time, you know, and then, oh, I hit you with my ice powers.
Ooh.
By the way, I have these ice powers, you know? And it's like, it's not like, once upon a time there was a little girl who had ice powers. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's the little girl. She has ice powers. Oh, cool, you know? And so it's like, that's actually like a really good example of like, kind of like, give us the character, show us the world. Can you let me get my bombs out before you start just going ham on me? I'm getting a lot better at fighting these guys. Okay, I say that, and now he just kicks my butt.
Now he's just walloping you. I'm going to say this. I feel like that's one of the mistakes, one of the many mistakes of the second Frozen movie, is that it goes into trying to explain Elsa's powers. Like, I never needed that explanation. I just accepted that this little girl had magical powers. Why?
Yes.
Because this is a fairy tale.
And in the second movie just made me more confused about her powers. The whole thing in the ice cave, whatever the hell, I couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. And a little kid watching that, holy shit, I can't imagine how confusing that would be. Because I'm a grown-ass adult, and I still came out of that movie like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what I just watched. It made no sense. It felt so convoluted.
Yeah. That's how I would explain the entirety of Frozen 2. Convoluted.
It was a pointless movie.
Yeah, it really was.
I refuse to accept that movie as canon, but I do love the music video with
with Weezer?
with Kristoff.
Yeah.
The Weezer music video.
That's the only good thing that came out of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's a beautifully
animated movie. Yay, Jed.
Jed.
The difference between a board game and a book or a movie is that you don't need to know all the rules to start. Amen. Amen.
Wow, that is a great way to put it. Jed with the clutch sayings, as always.
Really?
Yes. Thank you, Jed. So yeah, Jed, thank you for like summing that up right there for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I would love I feel like there's more though like to be said about Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't think it's really like good to hear for this.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it enough here.
For this live stream. Like I want to go back and actually just watch the whole movie from beginning to end, just like peacefully take it all in and say like, okay, because like there's things about it that I do like and then there's things about it that I don't like, and it just all keeps going yeah. So
yeah. It's a very interesting
right.
movie to dissect because there's a lot of good things to talk about, but there's also a lot of bad things to talk about, you know.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's the movie that almost was.
But
it's a movie that almost was.
That's a good way. It had potential.
Oh, I already tried to go there.
I'll give it that. But if you're moving on to a new topic, I have to hop off now because I am literally falling asleep.
Yeah.
No worries. I get you there. Say I have life flowing through me because I've been so excited for it being the weekend because it has been a rough week.
Oh, I believe it.
Like I've had family in town, which has been absolutely amazing. It's been so great having my sisters in town, all of them together for the first time in years. But I got sick at the same time.
Oh.
And then work has been just woof.
Yeah.
So all of that combined, and I'm just like, it's the weekend, and I gotta start it off with a live stream. Yes. All right. So Camille, thank you. Go off and get your sleep. Well deserved sleep.
Good sleeps. Goodbye, everyone.
Good sleeps.
Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah. So I guess. Do you want to just do the?
Let's do the wordsmithing,
and then
or more like the sentence crafting. This is more like sentence crafting. Yeah.
What?
So.
Let me get past this
again we have,
and then I can look at it. So go ahead and read it to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so once again, for those of you who might just be joining us for the first time here on our Zoom, not Zoom, I say Zoom. Oh my gosh,
You've been a high school teacher for too long.
School has freaking cursed me. Uh, for those of you who might be joining us for the first time here on our live stream, we definitely take questions and suggestions and stuff like that over at our Discord. Always, please feel free to join us over there, to drop by with questions or stuff that you'd like us to talk about, or in this case, we'll even be happy to like look over some of your work and talk about it here if you want us to. Which in this case, Black Claw has given us some sentences to go over. So right here, sentence 1. Oh my gosh, once again I apologize for butchering this. Friendier, I think I got it right. Friendier laid in his cave within the mountaintops, waiting as the cold, biting winds of winter swirled and howled outside. His home was dark, dreary, and cold, though the fire within him fended away the cold. So, very, very, very first thing, I like the feelings and the description right here. Cold is used far too often.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. So I get it right here. Like waiting as the cold, biting winds of winter swirled and howled outside. Perfect. His home was dark, and it was dark, like dark, dank, and dreary. I would just say I would find just a different way of describing his cavern.
Yeah.
It would be the way that I go. Like, I could say something maybe to the effect of that. His home was cavernous. Perfect for a chilling atmosphere.
Yeah. I think really here we have a lot of
fires within fended off the chill or whatever.
Yeah. The only really like thing that I would change is just the amount of times you use like a word that means cold. You know, like you have cold, winter, cold again, the biting wind. You know, those all kind of mean cold, and so it's a little bit repetitive. Other than that, like I think it's definitely a good start. And really, I think wordsmithing mostly comes down to just, readability. And when there's like words that are repeated too much, it can kind of like the readability can kind of make it can be a little bit more difficult to read. And so, yeah, I would just kind of, let's see.
So here's something that I would say. So this comes back to like our some of our earlier conversations about stuff like purple prose and things like that. When I look at here at this description of the cave and the description of the dragon being there in his cave, I think that a good thing to bear in mind is like the position of the cave itself.
Yeah.
Is this cave on a slope that someone could walk into? Is this cave on a precipice? Is it on a cliff overlooking the landscape around? What exactly is this cave like? And then play on into that. As someone who's done a fair amount of spelunking and like wilderness adventure, survival, whatnot, like it does, like it makes like it's a difference in environment and in aesthetic that you could then try to communicate. Like I think that the wordsmithing right here kind of comes down not just to saying, yeah, it's winter time and it's cold, but just it's like capturing the surrounding around Friendier. Is it desolate? Is it beautiful? Is it enclosed? Different kind of things, because this, for instance, this is thinking about a dragon right here. Where a dragon decides to roost says a lot already about that dragon, because most people, when they read something about a dragon, they're going to expect some glorious hold with a bunch of gold or stolen treasure. And if that's not the route that you're going, then people are like, whoa, like, what is this dragon then doing? And so, like, you can then I think really have some fun here with the environment. Like that's actually kind of like that would be my overall suggestion right here. Have more fun with the environment.
Yeah. See, and I would say have some more fun with the word play. Like this right here, I think you have dark, dreary. This is an excellent time to do some alliteration. And so pull up a thesaurus and just see what you can kind of piece in there that will kind of make this sentence like have some more bounce to it. Like a lot of the times alliteration is used to kind of lighten the atmosphere, but it doesn't necessarily need to. I just thinking about it, you could do dark, dreary, and dank, or dark, dreary, and
dark, dank, and dreary.
Yeah.
I remember that from watching the OG My Little Pony movie. Man, things I've watched. Where like that's actually what that's one of the things is that like I remember that where one character says back when everything was dark, dank, and dreary. Like if that's like and right there, because dark, dank, dreary just works really well. Where it's like if you said dreary, dank, dark, it doesn't flow as well, at least to me. But then again, that's playing around with alliteration right there. Moving on to sentence 2.
Maybe
moving
dangerous.
On to the second one.
Yeah. Let me pull up the second one for you.
Yeah, his home was dark, dangerous, dreary. And once again, kind of like thinking about like the cave, like the nature of the cave itself. You could say that his home was cavernous.
Yeah.
And then play into find other descriptions that have a us kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah,
Here, moving on to sentence. Placed himself at the edge of the cave mouth, looking at the snow-covered mountains in the distance, as the snowflakes slowly descended from the sky, while the brisk winds swirled around them. I think for myself, I'd say he placed himself at the edge of the cave mouth, looking out at the snow-covered mountains in the distance. Snowflakes danced in the brisk wind, swirling around him. That's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
Because it feels overlong.
Yeah.
I would split that into 2 sentences, and then kind of like because we've already by this
just put a period in there to break it up a little bit, give it a little bit more. Like it definitely does feel like, because you kind of need to think about how a period is a much more. It gives it a break, and then whereas a comma is just kind of like a breath rather than a break. And so it's like thinking about how the rhythm of the sentence is. If you just put a lot of the times you can put a period where a comma is, and it works just fine, and it will flow a lot better, even though the only thing you're doing is just making that comma a little bit more dramatic, I guess you could say. And I think that, because honestly, like, me and Lars, we both have very different writing styles from each other, from the person who's writing these sentences. And so at the end of the day, number one, it comes down to your writing preference, and number two, it just comes down to practice. And so it's like you just need to kind of play around and see what feels better, see what sounds best, and see what flows the best. And that just kind of comes with some tampering. But sorry, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. It comes down to your own style. Find your own style, develop your own style. It does help to get advice from other people. Like our friend Zaza really has helped me to develop my style with using those punctuations better. Because this right here, what I'm reading right here, that's my earlier work. Very long sentences.
Yeah.
And as someone who's an academic, I am used to doing long sentences because you want to put as many thoughts into one sentence as possible. Because other academics are like, wait, if you put a period right here, that means you've separated these 2 thoughts, and these thoughts then are separate, and you're actually trying to connect them. What? It's just like, well,
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's calm down
Yeah.
right here. So when you're being creative, it's about the flow. It's about, once again, capturing that style. And once people recognize your style, then they will jive with it as they continue to read it. But
yeah, and have fun with grammar. Like, I mean, there's rules for grammar, and you should follow them where you can, but there are instances in which breaking the rules is exactly what your story needs. And so, number one, learn the rules so you know why to break them, because you don't really know why to break a rule if you don't understand the rule itself. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, just have fun with it. Like, that's what writing's all about, is just enjoy yourself. If you're not enjoying yourself, that comes across in your work, I've come to find. And so you can really find, like, you can really tell when it's like, okay, they had a lot of fun writing this, and you can tell by the way the story just kind of bounces along, you know. And that's not necessarily because it's a comical book, and it can be very dark, but still be such a fun read that has so much heart and soul in it.
I agree. And I was just going to say, on the subject of fun, like, coming back once again to sentence 2, I like, me personally, I would just, like, have, like, a fun sentence focusing in on the snowflakes and the whole dancing aspect, because everything else is dark, harsh, dreary. And there's, and when you decide that you're going to focus in on something like the snowflakes, it's very hard to make snowflakes something dreary, dark, loathsome, slow.
Yeah,
because it's snow, and unless you really, really hate snow, like snowflakes are just hard to vilify. And so it'd just be like it'd be a fun juxtaposition. Be all like, hey, look, like, dragon, cold, dark, brooding, harsh, cold, and then be like, dancing snowflakes. Like, there's still some beauty in this world, and everything. So, I mean, that would be that's just me, and so that would be my last, like, little thing. If you were to take an extra bit of advice.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's how I would do it. But then again, that's how I would break up that sentence. I tried to keep as most of what you originally had as I could, just because, you know, that's your writing style. I don't want to impose on your writing style, but I definitely think that, you know, just kind of breaking it up a little bit helps with readability. There we go. There's,
you know, so here, but this is me more like voicing, I guess I can say, like, just kind of like a random thought that I guess I've had now for a little bit. Just thinking about, like, imposing your own writing on something that you suggest. So I like listening to the guys over at another YouTube channel, Midnight's Edge. One of the guys that's a regular on that YouTube channel, Script Doctor, is a writer for Hollywood. And I feel like the other people on the channel don't utilize him enough by asking him for his writing takes on the movies that they critique. Yeah. Because it's always really interesting to hear from him, and it's fascinating because what he suggests and the way that he would rewrite or edit certain scenes within movies are not what I would do.
Right.
And, like, once again, it comes down to that matter of, like, like, your own personal style, your taste, what do you want? But, like, there is something, I guess, to be said about, like, looking at what other people's styles are, because there's a part of me that's like, wow, I would actually like to know more about your style to see how good your advice, like, is. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about just having my work out there, out in the open, because I mean, I've had links on our videos to the fan fictions I've done, my books, the ones that are published are there available for people to look at and to critique and be like, hey, Lars, like, it's fun listening to you, but man, you suck at doing this. And if someone came up to say, I'd be like, okay, awesome, thanks for letting me know. And if I can see that it's, like, really, like, legit criticism, then I can take that and I can incorporate that and try to better myself.
Yeah, I think that there's a great, like, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a great example is just, like, how you can't really tell that your breath stinks because your nose is directly under your mouth. And so you smell your own breath all day long, and you don't even, like, know that your breath stinks until somebody comes along and is like, hey, you might want to brush your teeth. Your breath stinks, you know? And I feel like writing is the same way. You know, it's just like we're so used to just this is how my brain works that we don't stop to think about the fact that maybe this isn't great writing, and having somebody like kind of point that out to you can be absolutely like crucial. As a matter of fact, it is absolutely crucial. That's why writing advice is so important, even though you should never, let that writing advice get in the way of the story you want to tell. It's still so crucial to listen to writing advice because it can point out things that you wouldn't otherwise notice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, and just because someone says, hey, look, this isn't working right here, doesn't mean that you still can't make the story that you want to have happen, like, work. Like, it can still, like, you can still do it.
Yeah.
For myself, thinking about one book, Monarch Mercenaries, the first draft sucks. There's so much wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to tackle the second draft because I was like, everything's wrong. I can't make this work. I had to step away from the story for a while, which was hard and painful to do. But then I came back and was like, what's the core story? The core story is you have a band of pirates in space. The new captain has so much on his shoulders. He's trying to balance it all. He can't. He's drowning in this. And really, he just wants to be a goofy pirate that steals the treasure and gets the girl, which totally goes against the reality of his situation, but that's what he wants. And I'm like, that's the story I need to tell. So I need to be funnier. I need to have more sweeping adventures. And I look back and I'm like, the bones are all good. It's just the meat isn't. Rip the meat off and go right back at it. and so it's like the story that you want to tell is still usually a good one. It's just that the critique, going back at it, the editing helps you to make it the story that it can be. And that's where getting writing advice is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like this was good. This was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you for those of you who have stuck around with us and enjoyed this with us.
Yeah, go join our Discord as always. It's a rip-roaring good time. If you need writing advice, that's what it's there for. We got a awesome community now, a budding community of awesome, talented people from all different walks of life. And so go join us because it's a good time. And I'm really impressed with just how kind and nice everybody is there. And
it's really awesome.
Yeah. And of course,
also,
you found our YouTube channel, so go check out the rest of our videos.
Mm-hmm. Also, as far as the Discord goes, I highly encourage that you pop on over there, not just to be part of our awesome community and sharing everything, but because I know that we're still a little ways away from Halloween and everything like that. But
yes,
I've got a big story right now in the making, a choose your own horror adventure story that I want our community to have a chance to really interact with.
Yeah,
this is going to be a special event. More details will be forthcoming, especially as we slide on into September. But if you would like to figure out how you can be part of a special event where we're going to be doing some pretty incredible storytelling live, then please pop on over to our Discord and start making friends, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and that's going to be next. No, never mind. We still have a month until October.
We still have a month, but no. Like, I'm already working on it because I'm like, this is going to be big.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, like, I'm thinking about actually posting a bit of my story onto the Discord, so if you're interested in reading something that I've written, check that out, because I need some feedback on that. So if you guys want to be feedback to my thing, I'm thinking about basically chapter 5 of my story that I'm writing is a flashback chapter, and I want that flashback chapter to stand on its own 2 feet when you take it out of context from the rest of the story. And so, so I think I'm going to throw that up on the Discord later tonight. Anyway.
Awesome.
This has been a good time. Thanks for joining us, y'all. And good night, Mother. Is that what she usually says?
Tschüss.